following is a special presentation of ESPN on ABC.
Summer in New England means different things to many people. Some time by the ocean relaxing on the beach, a stroll through history, or a trip to the mountains where it's cool and quiet. For sports fans, summer in New England means baseball at Fenway.
Go Red Sox!
And NASCAR in New Hampshire. 75 miles north of Boston, near the Capitol at Concord, sits New Hampshire Motor Speedway, where the fans are here to see their boys of summer, the stars of NASCAR.
10, 9, 8,
ESPN welcomes you to NASCAR Countdown. Today, the NASCAR Nationwide Series runs 200 laps on New Hampshire's Magic Mile. Our coverage presented by CiCi's Pizza. These NASCAR fans are looking for a ray of sunshine in what's been a brutal start to the summer. Rain 23 of 27 days in June around here. And while there's a chance of showers in the forecast today, the track is dry now. The drivers are gathering for introductions. Which one of them will win and how? We begin finding out shortly.
Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, please rise and remove your hats as the Salem High School Falcon Color Guard presents our nation's colors in honor of Salem High graduate and former Color Guard Commander Sergeant Edmund Lowe, who was killed in combat in Iraq 2 weeks ago. Please remain standing as President and Chief Executive Officer of Motor Racing Outreach, Reverend Billy E. Malden, offers today's invocation.
Let us pray. Gracious God and Heavenly Father, we thank you for this beautiful day here at New Hampshire. We ask that you would watch over us and keep these drivers, competitors, officials. Give us a safe day, Father, for the fans and all that are here in attendance. We thank you for all that have worked hard to make this event possible. Sponsors, track staff, Lord bless them. We ask that your peace and your presence would be with us all this day. In Christ's name I pray. Amen.
Here to perform our national anthem, please welcome Geraldine Sawyer.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleam, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streamed, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Ladies and
So, 22 races, 22 faces. Which one of these faces will be smiling most by being in victory lane at the end of 200 laps?
That's a good guy. I think it's going to be that guy starting up front.
I think it's that guy right there.
I think it's that young man right there.
Joey Logano. We'll find out. The engines fire in New Hampshire next.
race fans, it's time for the most famous words in motorsports. Here to give the command, please welcome Camping World Regional Vice President Kevin Bostrom.
Hey, is everybody ready? On behalf of Camping World and all its team members, gentlemen, start your engines. Fired up. All right, buddy, fired up. Yep, 10-4. This is good. Everything's on. 10-4, buddy. What fans do you want, Rob? Got to start with all the fans up when you go.
So as the engines have come to life, we've got our onboard camera with Elliott Sadler. He'll be our in-race reporter today. We'll talk to him when we come back. If you want your question answered, possibly during the race, all you have to do is log on to ESPN.com and search Ask the Driver. So stay with us. We're about to go green flag racing here in New England. We're in New Hampshire. You're watching ESPN on ABC. Well, and just in case you weren't with us earlier, we'll show you who won the pole. It is for the third race in a row, his sixth of his career, Joey Logano, and what would be his home track, just a 3-hour drive from his hometown of Middletown, Connecticut, as he will be on point. The first man to do that since Jeff Gordon in the series did it back in 1992. 3 straight poles. All right, across the top of the screen, you'll get the rest of the starting field as we'll put them in right across the very top, up in those puffy clouds that we hope do not turn dark. And there you see Joey Logano with Carl Edwards right alongside. Let's get a chance to talk to our in-race reporter, Elliott Sadler. DJ?
Hey, Elliott. Dale Jarrett, the ESPN. You have a copy?
Yes, sir. Loud and clear.
Hey, Elliott, our theme today has been kind of how difficult this racetrack is to drive for a driver and the 22 different winner and 22 races. My question is, do you find this racetrack to be really difficult, and what is difficult about it, and can you be number 23?
Well, we're sure going to try to be number 30, number 23. It's just a slick racetrack, and you fight so many different things going throughout the corner. You want to have good stability on entry. You wanted to get it to turn good through the center, free rolling, but then you got to have great forward bite off, and it's hard to get all three of those things to be 100% all the way through the corner. And I think that's why you see so many different winners here. It seems like the track gets a little bit slicker each and every year, so your setups change a little bit. Goodyear brings us different tires, so you kind of have to adjust with it. So we've made a few adjustments. I got really loose in qualifying. Didn't do as good as I wanted to do, but 200 laps. If you get a good car here, you can make the passes and make your way to the front.
All right, Elliott, our second question comes from our ESPN mailbag, and Tom from Pittsburgh wants to know, you haven't run a nationwide race since 2008. How big an adjustment is it to go back to these cars?
It was a big adjustment for me, and I think that's why we didn't qualify like we should. I just got out the Cup car. These things drive so much different, a lot less horsepower. You're sitting down on the springs instead of sitting down on the bump stops. So, and we didn't get a lot of practice yesterday. So, very limited time in the car, but just proud of my guys, everybody, Braun Racing. I want to thank them for giving me the opportunity to come over here and drive the Auto Value car, and maybe go try to give it the best race we can. Hopefully we'll have a good one.
All right, Elliott, have a great race. Thanks for talking with us. And now Andy's going to talk to your crew chief, Stuart Cooper. Hey, Stuart, Andy Petrie in the booth. You got us?
Got you, Andy. Go ahead.
Hey, Stuart, you guys had a fast car in practice but didn't get the qualifying run you were looking for. What do you have to do down there today to get that car up front?
Well, the biggest thing to start this thing out, we just got to make sure our car is where it needs to be. Track positions, everything here. So we're going to have to do something. Hopefully, the first part of the race here, we can, just work on the balance, get it driving good, and then do some strategy here at the end.
Okay, Stuart. Well, good luck with that, and hope you guys come home good.
Well, we have 7 other onboards besides the one with Elliott Sadler and Mike Bliss and Justin Allgaier, Butler, Harvick, Leffler, Gaughan, and Keselowski as we are getting ready to go back to green. And this broadcast is available in Spanish by activating your SAP button, presented by ESPN Deportes. So with the sun shining bright, and we hope we stay that way, coming through turn 4, the pace car will be pulling off, and we'll make our way for the first of 200 laps here in the 16th stop on the 2009 Nationwide Series calendar. Slowly making their way, and this race is green.
Joey Logano has the early lead, and you saw everybody slip sliding through turns 1 and 2, and that's probably because of that modified race, right?
Yeah, different tire compound and different rubber down the racetrack. This track is also heated up quite a bit, and a lot of the guys were telling me these cars are a handful to drive too on low air pressure.
And just like Marty said, as far as these modified cars, they run a little bit different tire, a little bit different rubber on them. And the first part of the race, I don't want my guy to make a judgment on his car until we've run enough to get the rubber on our tires on the racetrack where we know what we've got. I mean, he might go through some changes here, and he might be tight right now, but he might be loose here in just a little bit. So just got to let the track kind of rubber in a little bit.
Kevin Harvick trying to make a move on the 99 of Scott Speed. That is Clint Boyer right in front of him for third. You're on board with Harvick. He has cleared Scott Speed, and here comes Greg Biffle in the 16. So Harvick trying to move forward.
Yeah, good racing here. These guys are a little concerned. The track hadn't widened out in their practice yesterday, and they were afraid that it was really going to be hard to pass. But we see some good racing going on here as Harvick tries to take that third spot away.
Yeah, you see Harvick using the apron of the racetrack, getting down there. There's some extra grip down there if you can get that left front tire just below that yellow line.
Guys, this is one of those stats that I don't know how it's stayed in place. This is 23rd race. The prior 22, the guy who's leading on lap 3 has never won. Guess what? We're coming up on lap 3 right now, so...
doesn't look good for Logano.
If the numerology holds true, could be tough for him. But look at Carl Edwards. Carl says, okay, lap 3's gone. I'll take the lead.
Yeah, this is not the same Carl that Carl won with in Milwaukee last week. He says it's actually a little bit better, he thinks.
Well, I did talk to his crew chief, Dan Stillman, and he does have a setup in this car that's very similar to what they ran last week, and they feel good about their chances today.
And while this was going on, we'll tell you that Kevin Harvick got around both Clint Boyer and Scott Speed. He has now moved up to third. There you see him. And the gap, though, is widening. It's about almost 1.6 seconds back from the leader.
Yeah, Boyer fell back to the 5th spot. He told me his car was extremely loose until about 6 or 8 laps into the run when the air pressure's built up.
And what you got to do right there, if your car is like that, what you got to do is try not to lose too many spots. Play defense just a little bit in this first part of the run and wait for your car to come in. And so you don't want a lot of cars to have to pass back when it does come in.
Here's one penalty I've never heard of before, guys, being enforced, but the 96 is pulled off the track. He's been black flagged. There was no crew chief.
Well, that'll get you. You need one of those, I can tell you.
Could you call that a start park candidate?
I think that's what you call that.
Okay, so Willie Allen's behind the wall, and he's out of the race. Meanwhile, take a look at Mike Bliss. He's got Eric Darnell on the high side in the 6 car, and that's a battle for 10th. And there is Kyle Busch in the 18, and he is trying to make his way forward as well.
Kyle Busch was the first car to go out to qualify, and he didn't get the lap I'm sure he was looking for, but I don't think we need to worry about him too much. He'll find a way back up front.
Now, that's always a difficult thing at any racetrack, but that was at 10 o'clock this morning. The modifieds had been on the track before that, so that was probably the worst conditions that you could have gone out. So Kyle made the most of it, and now he's going to try to make his way forward. We hope these guys get single file as we have a battle for the lead once again.
Here goes Joey Logano. He's got the inside line on Carl Edwards. Can he clear him? Looks like he's got him. Going to slide right back up. What
There's
you guys
your
were
slide
talking
job
about.
right there. That's exactly how you get it done. Just like that. You go in on the bottom, and then you kind of just hope the guy on the outside will yield to you, or you can get clear before your car slides up the racetrack.
So Logano trying to open up a little bit of ground. Carl says, I'll have none of that, thank you, and he tightens it back up. Meanwhile, these guys lead by 1.4 seconds over third place Kevin Harvick. Scott Speed is 4th, Clint Boyer is 5th, and Brad Keselowski runs in the 6th position. And meanwhile, Mike Bliss has still got his hands full with Eric Darnell.
Oh, these guys have been side by side for a number of laps here.
Well, that's one thing they did with this reconfigured racetrack. A few years back, they put some extra banking on that outside groove, and it does help this kind of racing. It's side-by-side racing. The outside car does have a little more banking to play with.
Yeah, and there's a scene that we don't see a lot, and that's a patient Kyle Busch right there waiting for these guys to kind of sort it out where he can start passing each one of them. We'll see Mike Bliss make the pass.
Andy, you mentioned the banking. It's 2 degrees at the bottom of the track, all the way up to 7 degrees, which still isn't that much on the high side.
Yeah, if you get to that 7 degrees, you're in trouble, I can assure you that. You don't want to be up where it's 7 degrees. You'd like to have that, but you don't want to be in that part of the racetrack.
Andy, left front corner, looks like we've had a little contact on the 6.
Yeah, and that's going to hurt that car just a little bit. This is one of those racetracks, even though it's only a 1-mile track, very aero sensitive, and especially with those front fenders, you've got to have the maximum amount of front downforce here.
Yeah, you sure do. It's amazing. A number of guys that I talked with today were talking about how much they'd worked on the bodies of these short track cars just because they were coming here. They know how important that is.
Yeah, I don't know why this track's that that way. This is one of the most aero-sensitive racetracks that we ever raced on, and it's not that high speed. You wouldn't think that way, but it is. You just got to have that front downforce to get the car to grip. And you can see right here, Eric Darnell's losing some ground.
Well, Darnell's coming off his best finish in his career, 4th last week out. And we were talking about he's one of those guys. In fact, our good buddy Brad Daugherty thinks he's going to win a race here very soon.
He didn't think. He stated that he would win a race. Brad Daugherty said that he was going to win.
I heard that.
He's run awfully well. So today may be a tall order, especially with that damage that's on the front. But he has run extremely well.
Well, the good news on this damage, it's pretty easy to fix that on a pit stop.
He is running 12th right now and has dropped back a little bit further from Kyle Busch, who is running in 11th. So there is Joey Logano, as he is now a half a second ahead of Carl Edwards. There's your top 5 after 11 of 200 laps here at New Hampshire International Speedway. We'll be back with this and more. Working lap 18 of 200 here on the NASCAR Nationwide Series in New Hampshire, presented by CC's Pizza. And we're glad you're with us. That's the margin between first and second. Joey Logano in the 20s out in front of Carl Edwards. And on the clock, that is a half of second. We'll also get you updated. We've got several cars that have started and parked. Travis Kittleson's behind the wall. Johnny Chapman, Kelly Byers, Willie Allen, and Casey Atwood. So 5 cars behind the wall already. Meanwhile, there you take a look at Brad Keselowski and Jason Leffler. They're going after each other. That's a battle for 7th, guys.
This is one of those racetracks that takes a lot of discipline. You have to not overdrive the entry of the corner. You know, your tendency is to want to try to go as fast as you can, but you can lose a lot of time here if you overdrive the race car.
Yeah, and these are 2 guys that have really worked hard all year long to keep themselves right up there with Kyle Busch and Carl Edwards in the points. And so they've got a battle kind of in between them as far as who's going to be the first nationwide driver up there.
Vince, I think you've got more.
Well, Brad Keselowski, he's only been here once before, so his spotter, T.J. Majors, who spots for Dale Jr. on the Cup side, is helping Brad to run a line similar to the leaders and kind of helping him out to let him know where the car is good and where it's not so good. So Brad Keselowski, even though he's a winner already during the course of this season, still working on getting a comfortable spot here at New Hampshire. Shannon?
Vince, right behind him, Jason Leffler, that 38 car, saying right now that the car is a little bit tight. I spoke with Leffler before he climbed in the car before the race, and he told me most teams bring their Milwaukee setup and their Milwaukee car here to this racetrack because they're so similar. He said, not us. He said, we brought something very similar to our ORP. In the past, that's been my problem. I cannot run my Milwaukee setup here. He told me, in fact, this weekend, this is the best car he's had at this racetrack since he finished 3rd back in 2004.
And Jason Leffler coming off 10 straight top 10 finishes. That's the longest streak in his Nationwide Series career.
Guys, I tell you what, I've been watching this race unfold, and a lot of people at home are probably wondering, why aren't the cars running dead on the bottom of the racetrack, right on the yellow line? And DJ, you well know, a couple years ago, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, that Mr. Bear came and repaved this track. It's about 2 degrees flatter on the very bottom than it is about up one lane. So everybody tries to get up on that banking, get some momentum, but when they get tight and they want to make some real good passes, if they can get on that flatter part of the track, they can get the job done right there.
Yeah, you're right, Rush. You get that left front tire down on there and on that flat part and kind of de-wedges the race car a little bit for you when it does start to go tight, and they'll utilize that in trying to make a pass and get their car turned in the center of the corner. But they really made it to where you have more racing room through the center of the corner, and we'll see this track widen out throughout the day, but you're still going to make your passes most of the time right on the bottom.
As we move a little bit further back, we're checking in with Eric Darnell again, seeing the effects of the damage on that left front. In fact, it looks worse from this angle than it did earlier.
Yeah, it doesn't look good. They're going to have to do something with that as soon as they can get in the pits. You see a bump right there. That gets some damage, but not what we saw. He's had some more damage to the front of the fender. You see right here, that's where he gets that damage.
Still there.
It's going to take a little work on that first pit stop.
Let's get more on Eric Darnell, Dave Burns.
And he reports to his crew that this car will not turn in the center of the corner and when he puts his foot on the gas. And then at the late part of the corner, it wants to spin out on him. Now, crew chief Mike Kelly radioed back to him and said, when you bring down pit road, we'll fix that left front fender, but just hang on to it for right now. It's amazing that that can change the car so much on this track. DJ's already called it a short track. Let's go to Tim Brewer in the Craftsman Tech Garage and find out how these cars can be so aero sensitive, Tim.
Thanks, Dave. The brakes here are real important, but we can see the tape right here partially taped up, but you have to conduct the airflow to cool the brakes, same way on the radiator. But like Andy said, the front fenders, they're so important that if you damage one right here, we build these fenders as large as we can just to make downforce. But when it comes to getting that fender off the left side, you might see a ball back go up under that fender and actually roll the fender back in place. That'll give him the downforce he needs to turn the car in the center of the corner.
All right, thanks, Tim, for the update. As you take a look again at Eric Darnell's situation, 3 more cars to the garage. The 49 of Mark Green, Kevin LePage, and the 52 and the 73 of Derek Cope as we continue this battle for second on the race course right now as Kevin Harvick has got it that close to Carl Edwards.
He's been reeling him in lap after lap, and Kevin's got a fast car, and he's won here before. He knows how to get it done.
Yeah.
Wouldn't be too surprised to see him up there contending for this win.
Yeah, these are 2 guys that could stop that streak of 22 in a row as far as not having a 2-time winner.
They want to be the first to put their names in the books, both of them, that's for sure. As Carl's got the advantage right now, but they've still got a little traffic ahead of them.
Yeah, you can see Kevin really working that bottom of the racetrack like Rusty was talking about and going completely down on that apron to get that grip.
Yeah, you can do that, but you have to be careful there in trying to do that, that you don't break the back end of the car loose when you try to jump back to the throttle.
You see these cars, there's so much cornering force on it. It's basically a flat racetrack that it takes a lot to keep these cars from rolling. They got huge sway bars in them, big right rear springs, all these things to try to keep the car flat.
That's John West Townley in the 09 that both Carl Edwards and Kevin Harvick get the round safely. There's the leaderboard after 28 of 200 laps, and there's Joey Logano. He's got his hands full with traffic. Stay with us.
Still under green here at New Hampshire. Joey Logano still your leader. Let's check out our ESPN Motorsports calendar. The NASCAR Now Monday Roundtable wraps up the weekend's racing, 5 Eastern time on ESPN2. And then for the Nationwide Series, it's on to Daytona Beach next Friday night, 7:30 Eastern. The Subway Jalapeno 250, that is on ESPN. Plus, next weekend, ABC, the IndyCar Series at Watkins Glen. That's 1 Eastern time next Sunday. Plenty of motorsports action coming up on the ESPN and ABC networks for you. 33 laps are completed here at New Hampshire Motor Speedway today. Joey Logano has led all but 3 of them. Carl Edwards took the lead for 3 laps, but it is the young Connecticut native driving that 20 car who has paced the rest of the distance. We go up to speed now with Nationwide Insurance and get a report on some of the front runners, starting with Shannon.
Alan, Joey Logano in that 20 car. As soon as the green flag dropped today, he told his crew chief, Dave Rogers, the car is loose. Rogers said, relax, it will come to you. Well, it has, but now it's gone to the tight side. Now, this is Joey Logano's first NASCAR start here at this track, and in practice, he tried to find different lines on the racetrack where he could pass. Right now, as he's leading, looks like the only people he has to pass are the lap cars. Dave?
Shannon, last week, 2007 Nationwide champion Carl Edwards passed Kyle Busch with 45 laps to go for their first win of the season. I asked crew chief Dan Stillman how to feel to pass that dominant 18 car. He said, you know what? It felt great, but we passed him before this year. We've been pretty darn good. And they expect to pass Kyle a lot as they go towards another championship. Now, to get his teammate Logano back, they're going to have to make that car just to turn a little bit better in the center of the corner.
Kevin Harvick is in the 33 car, and of course the 20, the 18, and the 60, they've drawn the majority of the headlines this season, but Ernie Cope, the crew chief, says the 33 is as good as those 3, especially when Kevin Harvick is piloting this car. Harvick is one of 6 that's driven the 33. He's in 3rd place now, says it's a little tight in the middle. Dave?
Scott Speed runs behind him. He's a Sprint Cup driver who shares this ride with developing drivers at Michael Waltrip Racing. For the last 3 races, young Trevor Bayne has been in the car, but today, Speed pilots it. He is just a little bit loose going into the corner. That's a spin-out kind of mode. But from the middle off, it's mostly tight. They'll need to crank on that race car during the first round of pit stops. Jamie?
And behind him is Brian Vickers. He started 8th, has moved up 3 positions. He's making his 100th Nationwide Series start. Big day for him. He's tight in traffic, but says the car's pretty good. Doesn't want to make any adjustments movements on this first stop. Behind him, Clint Boyer in the 29. He said his car was loose in practice, start a race, then we got cloud cover, and just like that, the car is tight. He called it a pig. Look for some changes on this first start coming up. Vince?
Well, the 88 car to Brad Keselowski still has his eye on the championship, even though he's just a little over 200 points out of the mix. But he says all teams are point racing at this point. But what we're going to have to do is win races, because the two drivers ahead of us, Kyle Busch and Carl Edwards, they're going to be winning. If we have a hope for the championship, we've got to win too. The 88, a little tight in the center. Shannon?
Vince, Jason Leffler in the 38 car started this race 12. He is on a streak right now, 10 straight top 10 finishes. He was really looking forward to this race. This is his type of racetrack. He said that this is their go-to car, and he told me this morning that this is the best he's felt here in a long time. Right now the car is just a little bit tight, but he says it's still turning well through the turns. Vince?
Well, and behind Jason Leffler is the 18 of Kyle Busch. He started 9th, and he's currently running 9th, but Kyle says he's just being patient.
Started out okay. I just didn't want to do anything underneath those guys and wreck myself, so I just kind of waited.
Kyle Busch has led the most laps in 8 straight races. I gotta believe after this first pit stop, it won't be long, and we'll see him back toward the front today. Shannon?
Vince, Mike Bliss holding steady at 10th. That's where he started the race, and that's where he's running right now. I spoke to him before the race started. He said he did not have a good feel for this car and told me, in fact, he thought they may have brought the wrong car to the racetrack this weekend. It was just tight in practice, and it is still tight right now. Mike Bliss looking for a good run. He's been busted on pit road speeding in the last 2 weeks. Alan?
All right, Pit Patrol, thank you. So there are updates on the top 10 drivers so far. Again, caution-free to this point, with 42 laps being worked now. And if we stay under green, they can go about 70 laps before they'll have to hit pit road under the green. Joey Logano is your race leader in his native New England.
It's the most prestigious championship of the game. Defending champ Padraig Harrington, Tiger Woods, and the world's best return to the birthplace of golf. The Open Championship on ABC, Saturday, July 18th at 9 a.m. Eastern. Final round coverage Sunday, July 19th at 8 a.m. Eastern. For more, just log on to ESPN.com. And as you can see, we have stayed mean and green here for 47 laps. Let's reset it for you. That's Joey Logano in the 20 going around.
Like Michael Annett now going down a lap in 20th position, so that puts only 19 cars on the lead lap.
No, that's Elliott Sadler, and he's 21st. You're just one away, because Annett is in the 15. A similar paint scheme. I can see where you could make that.
I see why you were waiting to see it now.
Yeah, when things get strung out like this early in the race, the cars that are off just a little bit is really magnified, especially as we run this many laps and get this many laps on the tires. It really shows how these guys aren't handling. You get a car like this right here, handling that good, man, you can put them down in a hurry.
And this graphic will be the kiss of death, because whenever we say we just are going into a long streak, something is bound to happen. Behind Joey Logano by 2.2 seconds is Carl Edwards. Kevin Harvick is third. Brian Vickers has moved up into fourth, guys, with a good run. Scott Speed is now fifth. Clint Boyer is running in sixth, and we now have 20 cars, as we mentioned, on the lead lap. Let's move back a little bit further. We are going to zero in on that battle for sixth, as we saw Clint Boyer and Brad Keselowski there going after each other. And really, guys, I think everybody, there's a lot of cars like Clint Boyer, they can't wait to get into pit lane.
Yeah, they just like to make a little bit of an adjustment, and they're going to have to get on pit lane here not too long a time, whether it's under green, but they prefer it to be under caution where they can make wholesale changes, Andy.
Yeah, we heard Clint Boyer talking about how his car, he had it loose and he wanted it that way, so when it did tighten up, his car would be good. Evidently, they didn't start out loose enough, because he's already talking about tight. Now he's losing another spot, and actually another one yet to Kyle Busch getting into turn one.
Yeah, he just dropped 3 positions in 2 laps, and now the caution is out. I told you, as it looks like the 98 Paul Menard's car has looks like it may have lost the motor.
Yeah, looks like it did there. That's a sign of a blown engine, and that'll put Elliott Sadler back on the lead lap. He's the first car running that's not on the lead lap.
So as he makes his way into pit lane, our first caution comes out as we've completed 50 laps here of the 200. So at the quarter mark, we get our first caution. And as you mentioned, the Aaron's Lucky Dog will go to Elliott Sadler, and it'll be time for everybody to come in and get those adjustments, and we'll get to see who's actually going to make the best improvement here early.
Looks like Kyle Busch needs to work on his car because he's really not made any ground in this first run. I really felt like he would charge up to the front a lot quicker than he has.
Yeah, he was being patient there, trying to come up through the pack, but you would think if his car was good enough, he would have gone on.
Let me ask you, they lost most of the second practice, all of second practice session, and part of the first.
Yeah. So, yeah, I talked to a lot of guys that really felt that was going to be a big factor because they just didn't get the time on the racetrack that they needed after some rubber got down on the track.
Yeah, but you look at Kyle Busch, he can come flying in a helicopter, jump in the thing in no practice, and run really well. So, yeah. But the team does need that practice to see which way the car is going.
The other side of it, Joey Logano had the same amount, and his car looks pretty good. So,
all right, pit road looks like it should be open. It's going to be closed this time by.
Yep, you see the flag waving right there in the center of your screen. That means
it kind of fooled a few guys.
Yeah.
Carl Edwards almost came down pit road right there. He just missed a commitment cone.
Yeah. Kevin Harvick was on his bumper too.
And they were typically the pit road opens the first time the pace car comes by, and I don't know why they didn't open it there. They may have some oil on pit road from that blown engine of Paul Menard. He's sitting on pit road right now with the hood up.
So we'll go around one more time before we get to pit lane. Now, this was during a pre-race, but let's go back. Remember, Carl Edwards had 3 penalties in Kentucky for speeding in pit lane? Here was the conversation.
Okay, so we're 30 RPM under then at 5,000. So I'm going to go to 4,900.
10-4. 10-4. Yeah, I don't want to get caught for speeding either.
I hear you. We'll start there. It's exactly 45. It is not 46, so I don't want to be 100 over.
Now he's talking about RPM to stay under the 45-mile-an-hour speed limit.
Yeah, he got tagged hard in Kentucky, and you don't forget those too easily. They want to make sure if there is a glitch in the system or something that's borderline, they're not going to be the first ones to get caught. They're going to back it down a few RPM. Yeah, you see the cleanup trucks now working the bottom of the racetrack on the entrance of pit road or coming to the entrance. There must be a lot of oil down there, but we do see pit road open this time.
Okay, so here they come. Let's get you set up for our Toyo Tires triple pits. Jamie Little, you're up first.
And Brian Vickers in the 32 asking his crew, what is the RPM? It's 3,500 exactly. He said tight center off, air pressure, and 4 tires. Vince?
Kevin Harvick in the middle of the screen. They've only got 3 sets of tires, so crew chief Bernie Cope says we're putting on the scuffs this first set, and air pressure adjustment in the right front. Dave?
4 tires, Sunoco fuel, track bar up, tape on the grill, air pressure. All these things will help this car turn better. Shannon?
Dave, Joey Logano, your pole sitter, starts off loose, goes tight. They're going to make air pressure adjustment on the left side, a small track bar adjustment, and 4 tires. Joey Logano wins the race off pit road.
And he does, as you can see. Logano and Edwards stay in station. Brian Vickers picks up a spot. Kevin Harvick loses a spot. Kyle Busch's team came through for him. He picked up 2 positions, moving from 9th to 7th. So as we've completed 53 laps, we work our first caution. And Joey Logano, who's led 50 laps so far, is still out in front at New Hampshire.
Let the beat rock.
Back here at New Hampshire International Speedway as a race presented by CC's Pizza today. We're under our first caution as it is still Joey Logano in front of Carl Edwards, Brian Vickers, Kevin Harvick, and Scott Speed. That's your top 5. And we will now have a total of 20 cars on the lead lap as Elliott Sadler will get the Aaron's Lucky Dog. Now, there is the Aaron's Lucky Dog right there with Elliott. Let's get an update on Carl Edwards. What's going on in that pit, Dave?
Marty, you always try to diagnose things as best you can between the crew chief on top of the pit box and the driver behind the wheel. The driver's looking at all his gauges. Sometimes he sees something funny. Listen to this conversation.
The low voltage light's on, and I am running out of volts, down to 12.2. Turn everything off. You can turn every fan off. Okay, you got a switch there at your low voltage light. You need to turn that off. Flip it, flip it. You're going to have to explain which switch you're talking about, buddy.
There's a toggle switch right there at the low voltage light. You just flip it, and then we will count the laps until it comes back on.
That last voice was Daryl Morrow. He's the car chief and in charge of putting these cars together. Let's go back to Tim Brewer in the Craftsman Tech Garage and talk about all the different things Carl may be experiencing where voltage is concerned.
Tell you what, the first place folks, he hadn't got enough alternator, just like Andy Petrie said during the break. But you've got a switch right over here. It's ignition, the auxiliary switch. You got brake blower switches. You got a lot of fans. Every time you flip one of these switches on, you draw more current from the battery. But to change the battery, he also told him to go from A battery over to B battery. Now that's going to correct a lot of the problems. But I'm like Andy Petrie. He's going to cut off a lot of switches over here, but the air conditioner is not going to be one of them.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be the first one I'd tell him to turn off. Hey, turn that helmet air conditioning off. See how many volts you got now.
That's because you're the crew chief. What about you, driver?
Yeah, but if I was in Carl Edwards' shape, I could turn that thing off too. So that will be the first thing that Carl will do. He's plenty good enough shape to withstand that. Having that off, and you know, probably will solve their problems. But the one thing that he has to be careful of, you know, we don't want to heat up those tires and the beads of these tires, and with the brake heat there. So he's going to have to try to make sure that he doesn't get himself in trouble there.
All right, well, while we've got a moment, you heard that all the changes that Dave talked about that were going on the 60 car. Let's take you back and show how this little tap dance worked.
Yeah, you see they're putting a little bit extra tape on the grill. I guess the water temperature probably a little lower than they wanted it, and you can stand a little more tape here, get some more downforce. All this is in the right direction, try to get him a little more speed.
And Dave, you got one more update?
Yes, the fact that the other thing that he wanted during that pit stop was a refill on the water and a bag of ice. So if Carl does turn off that air conditioner, he'll have a little extra liquid on board to help cool himself.
Yeah, doesn't take any battery power to have an ice bag in the car.
All right, we're getting ready to go back to green flag racing. Before we do, happy birthday, Johnny Benson. Remember, he was in a crash a few weeks ago. He's home recuperating. He's 46 years old today. And get well, Johnny. We miss you. Coming down on the green flag here at New Hampshire International Speedway, it'll be Logano, Edwards, Vickers, Harvick, Speed, and we're back to green flag racing.
Got them 3 wide back here going into 1.
Yeah, Brendan Gaughan, that might be questionable in NASCAR's eyes. You can't pass to the left until you cross that start-finish line. They might consider that an attempt on Kenny Wallace before he got there.
And those are both lap cars. They are down a lap, and that you won't see next week at Daytona when we go to double file restart.
There's a lot at stake right there, though. Those guys are racing for that lucky dog spot in case the caution comes out.
And they know this is a time that caution could happen with the cars all bunched up.
Got a real log jam coming 3 wide through. That was Justin Allgaier as he was able to hold on to it. Down in that treacherous turn 1, everybody continues to make it through. It's still Logano, and there is the onboard view from Allgaier as he is running in 16th position. He's been the best Dodge all year, but as we get a pass for the lead, Carl Edwards maybe turning off all those switches gave him some more horsepower.
Yeah, a little more power and a little more tape on the grill, some more downforce.
Yeah.
He's got and a few adjustments on probably tire pressure. Got him going in the right direction.
And Joey Logano was one of the drivers that told me that these cars were really a handful on low air pressure. Whenever he did that yesterday, he said, man, it's just hard to drive. It was so loose, and you could see the back end step out right there.
Yeah, he's got his hands full right now, and I don't think he's panicking yet because the same thing happened at the start of the race. He lost the lead to Carl Edwards, but he got it back as the tires came up to pressure and temperature.
And Brian Vickers goes around him for second.
Yeah, we saw how much better the 20 car was on the longer run. He was able to stretch out over a 2-second lead, so he's just going to be patient right here, I think.
So those 3 running in formation. A little further back, there's Brendan Gaughan as he's the lap traffic there.
And he has moved ahead of Kenny Wallace for that lucky dog spot. These guys are racing hard among these leaders. You see these other cars are on the lead lap. Kyle Busch, Jason Leffler. Here's 9th place, swapping hands here.
Mike Bliss in the number 1 gets around Greg Biffle in the number 16. Sort of surprised a little bit. I thought Biffle might be one of the guys a little further forward in the field by now.
Yeah, and talking to him before qualifying, though, he wasn't very happy with his race car. He made a great qualifying effort, but he said in practice yesterday his car was extremely loose getting into the corner.
Yeah, he was talking about even how the tires were chattering. The rear tires chattering getting in the corner. That's not something you want to have going on.
Now, this is one of the few places that you'll find that happening. It's just one of the characteristics of this racetrack and the tire that Goodyear brings here. It works awfully well. If you can hang on for a few laps, then it usually works out better.
There you see the view from Ken Butler. He is one of our cars that is a lap down. He's in 24th position right now. Meanwhile, back up front, we're watching closely as Brian Vickers, the former champion, is closing in on another former champ.
Yeah, he's putting some pressure on. I was watching his lap times, earlier in this first run, and he was one of the faster cars. He didn't have the track position. He's got some now, and he's able to do something with it.
He's been really good in this car for the last couple of years, and this is a team that they run the full schedule here, but with different drivers in the car. But Brian seems to really get the most out of the cars and the team whenever he's in the seat.
Well, from that shot, you can just see how the cars are just sliding through that corner with the back ends hung out. The drivers have a handful keeping the car under control here.
Take a look at this. Stephen Wallace in the 66 as trying to check and see where
he's up in the 13th spot. Stephen is. He did a good job in that first segment of hanging on.
Yeah, he's just taking it over. So as we come back on Greg Biffle, we've got more. Jamie from pit lane.
Well, he's 10th right now, Marty, and he has been very frustrated, and I think it goes back to the tires during practice.
I never drove something so tight in my life. Just tried to arc it in there and just shattered both front tires the whole way. Just unbelievably different to practice, you know, with those tires. That's the way to run this series. Had to practice on junk tires and then, you know, race on good ones.
In an effort to save money, Goodyear had teams who had an extra set of tires from Milwaukee bring those here to Loudon and run them in practice. Now, the conditions were very different once they put the new tires on this car. That's exactly what Greg Biffle's talking about. They never hit the setup just right, Marty.
So that could explain why he told you back then it was loose, because it's a different set of tires.
Yeah, I hope that's it. He wasn't just pulling my leg or giving me false information here to go and tell the whole world about.
Well, it's not the first time that these cars have been a handful to figure out, as we are running on lap 68 of 200, and there's your top 5 here at New Hampshire International Speedway.
ESPN's coverage of the NASCAR Nationwide Series on ABC. Brought to you by Verizon Wireless. Get your head in the game right on your phone with sports clips, scores, stats, news, and more. Only on VCast from America's most entertaining network, Verizon Wireless.
Just 10 laps away from the halfway mark here at New Hampshire International Speedway. Stop number 16 on the Nationwide Series, scheduled for 2009. Take a look at this battle going on the track. That is Kevin Harvick in the 33, Scott Speed in the 99, and they're duking it out for 5th.
Yeah, Kevin Harvick looked in his mirror and he saw some other cars coming. Brad Keselowski and Jason Leffler were catching him, and I think he's going to put a little more pressure on Speed, try to get by.
Brian Keselowski, Brad's brother, slow on the track. No yellow as of yet.
Water's up to like 260.
That's not good.
No, that's on the upper side. You can run with 260 degrees of water, but that's on the upper side of the limit.
Yeah, sounds like the motor's down,
here
buddy.
this morning, or just a minute ago, it didn't sound very good right there.
So that's not a problem. That's a symptom of another problem.
He's in 32nd, several laps down. While all that was going on, nothing changed here as far as Scott Speed's concerned. He's still in front of Kevin Harvick.
Yeah, Harvick's been trying for like 25 laps to get around him. He just can't seem to make the pass. He can get up beside Scott Speed, but Scott carries a lot of speed through the center and then off the corner.
But you do see these other cars. You see Keselowski coming right there in his mirror, in Harvick's mirror, and that's why he's putting a little more pressure on Speed to try to get by, because if he could get by the 99, get a little more air on the nose, he might be able to drive away.
Yeah, and he's also losing touch with those guys in front, the first 4 up there. So he doesn't want to do that in case this continues green and they have to make a green flag pit stop.
And speaking of those first 4, it is still Carl Edwards and then Joey Logano, Ryan Vickers, Kyle Busch, and there goes Kevin Harvick.
So he got a good one here. Yeah, he clears the 99.
Yeah, that's a veteran driver right there. He's tried a number of times to make that pass, but he saw what he was going to have to do, and you can see Kevin really gas it in the center of the corner there and just kind of put, you talk about that slide job, you can do it going in and coming off the corner too. That's basically what Kevin did.
Well, of course, as you look at the 99 of Scott Speed, he came over from the Formula One ranks, and Michael Waltrip, of course, being a good old Southern boy, you got to talk about communication every now and then.
You learn so much when you're out on the track. It's good to hear questions. You know, Scott always has good questions to ask, like, what can I expect this track to do? What is some of the keys to the way you get in the corner here or you get off a corner there? So he's just tuned into what he's doing, and his questions are very, very precise.
And what's also interesting is that Michael has brought over some of that engineering talent from Formula One and hired them on, and both the Cup program, and they've seen big improvements.
Yeah, Michael's done an amazing job with his race team, and these are just the kind of things that he continues to do to help the team. And it's nice to see Scott Speed going and asking questions like that. You know, not coming in here thinking that he knows everything. He's asking questions about what to expect, and then he goes in and does a great job in the car. Been pretty impressive in the Nationwide Series this year at a lot of the places he hasn't seen before driving this race car.
That 01, whoa, he got a little sideways there. That 01 he's trying to get around is Danny O'Quinn, who is lap traffic. And the 88 of Brad Keselowski is right on the 99's back bumper, as there goes Jason Leffler also around the 01.
Well, that 88 and 38 have been pretty much hung together all day. They've been racing kind of about that far apart. Sometimes Jason Leffler will get up there and try to take the spot away, but Keselowski's been able to stay in front most of the time.
It's been about all year that you've seen those two cars running together, and they are together in the points. You see them running in the way they run right now. They're fourth and third in the points, so they've been together all year long, it seems like.
Yeah, two solid race teams and good race drivers.
Well, as you go on board with Brad Keselowski, he's had 4 straight top 3 finishes. You heard Vince Welch talking earlier about that's not good enough if they want to get back into the championship. They know they've got to win races.
Yeah, and they've been talking a lot about Brad Keselowski's future too, as to what he's going to do, but he's really focused on trying to win this championship right now.
2 laps away from halfway, and let's take you back a moment ago when our race leader Carl Edwards was trying to get around Jason Keller.
See, the leader, he gets a little frustrated sometimes when you're trying to race these guys and put them down a lap, but these guys that are trying to stay on the lead lap, they've got to do all they can, and you see these two racing extremely hard down in the corner. Carl needs just a little bit more room there.
And that's a veteran driver, and Jason Keller also knowing that if he can get down there that it might slow Carl down just a little bit. He didn't want to give up any quicker than what he had to.
Yeah, and you can see some damage on the left side of the 27, and that could have very easily have cut a tire for Carl. So when you're in a championship chase, there it
definitely.
is.
You see some damage, a lot of damage to that left rear quarter pound where it's pulled away. That could have actually hurt the tire or something on the 60 car. There goes Kyle Busch around Keller.
Jason right now is the first car 1 lap down. He's in 20th position. Here we come to the halfway mark. So 1 more lap. This race will be technically official. Now, leader at halfway has not won the last 8 Nationwide Series races, but Edwards has won 5 times when leading at halfway. Most recently, Memphis last October. So
well, the one thing in his favor is he did not lead lap 3. And that was the other graphic we showed. No lap leader of lap 3 has ever won a race, but I don't think that's going to get in the way of Carl Edwards today.
Dave Burns, you've got more on Carl Edwards.
Oh, you guys are all over the place, though. So he didn't lead lap 3. He did lead at halfway. He's won this race before. Andy, I thought you said he wouldn't win today. I can't figure out where you guys are laying on this. Which side of the fence?
I think he needs to look in his mirror. That 20 car has been coming a little bit at a time.
He's got some competition today, that's for sure. And he wanted his crew to make sure and have the spotter check out the right side of that car as he now works under another car he's trying to put down, Scott Lagasse. They said no damage on the right front, but you may have just a little bit on the right rear. They've been keeping their eye on that, but so far no tire smoke or anything for the leader.
Well, and take a look at the right front. It looks like it's got a ding in it. There's a tire mark from the contact earlier with Jason Keller on the right rear.
Yeah, and you can see, you remember Rusty talking earlier about when these guys really needed to make a pass, they'd be down there on that yellow line, and you could see Carl Edwards doing that down in turn 1.
Yeah, that definitely hurt the 60 because he's lost a little speed since that contact. You see the 20 and Brian Vickers now moving in on the leader.
All right, let's go back and take another look at what happened with Carl. This is a different view.
You can see he was trying to get down in the corner and get around Scott Lagasse, trying to keep his speed up, but you can see he got the right front corner in the left rear just a little bit.
Yeah, you can see a little damage from that contact. So he's got that and the damage from Keller when they bang wheels.
Left side of the car looks great, though. All right, it's Edwards leading by just 0.3 of a second over Joey Logano, Brian Vickers, Kyle Busch, Kevin Harvick. That's your top 5 after 103 laps. Stay with us.
And welcome back to New Hampshire Motor Speedway. We are under caution right now. It's time for the Toyo Triple Pits. Brian Vickers in the 32 wants a track bar adjustment and 4 tires, so the car is pretty good. Vince?
Kyle Busch in the 18. It's still a little bit too tight. He says keep freeing it up and also grab some fenders if you can. A little bit of damage on the left front and the right front. They're going one round down on the rear jack bolt. Dave.
Tire carrier Michael Riggs had to fix the left fender there. He's tugging on it there. Also the right fender as well, in addition to 4 tires and fuel. Shannon?
Joey Logano was a little bit too free on the start of the race, but he tightened up. They went back on that track bar adjustment, 4 tires.
Take a look at the race off pit road. Jason Leffler +6 as he moves into the second spot right behind Logano.
Carl Edwards loses 7 spots.
Yeah, we got to check into that. Let's check and show you why we're under caution. We'll update you on both those stories when we come back. But watch Bobby Hamilton Jr., former winner here at New Hampshire in the 81, gets a little help from Brad Keselowski, and wow, Leffler and Bliss just get by. Getting ready to go back to green flag racing on lap 110 here at the Nationwide Series at New Hampshire, presented by CC's Pizza. It is Joey Logano, Jason Leffler, courtesy of a 2-tire stop, is in second in the 38. Brian Vickers is third, Kyle Busch fourth, Scott Speed is fifth. And Logano trying to check out.
Yeah, this hasn't been his strong suit as far as getting going on the restarts here. They might have made a little air pressure adjustment to see if they could help that this time.
Yeah, they could have, but they didn't have Carl Edwards up there to to check out on them. You know, he had that bad pit stop, so he's going to have to fight through this traffic. You saw that was a double file restart, but it's not the kind of double file restart we're going to see starting next week. They're going to line these guys up in their positions double file. So, we got Kenny Wallace gets real loose getting in the corner.
Well, I think
he was lucky to
help.
save that.
I think he had a little help from Scott Speed.
Yeah, he's lucky to save that one. But we will see the double file restarts come into play next week at Daytona.
Yeah, talk a little strategy here. How about Jason Leffler taking 2 tires this time? They're going to have to make one more pit stop, and you would think that might be when everybody will out for 2 tires at that time.
Yeah, I would have wanted to wait and do that on that last caution, maybe play that card then. Right now is not really the time to make that work for you, because he's going to be caught with a decision of having to put on 4 tires or yet another 2-tire stop.
There you see the view, and out the back there is from Jason's car, and there's the 18 going underneath him. So Kyle Busch gets around Jason Leffler. So move Kyle into third, going after the 32 of Brian Vickers for second.
Now, they've had a couple opportunities to work on this 18 car in the pits, and I'm thinking they're getting it closer and closer to Kyle's liking.
Yeah, Vickers' car was good last run too, and we heard them say they were going to make a slight track bar adjustment on it. So it'll be interesting to see if that's good enough to get him up there to run with the 20 car.
While all this is going on, I know Carl Edwards fans are saying, wait a minute, update us on that. Well, Carl came out in 8th position. He is still in 8th position. They had a disastrous pit stop. And when we get a chance, we will show it to you, I promise. And there is Carl as he's got Mike Bliss right in front of him. And in fact, let's take you back and show you what happened. Watch the right front.
Everything goes good right here. You see the car come into the pit stall. Right front tire changer now. You see he doesn't get all the lug nuts off on the first try. This costs a little time, but watch this. He loses even more time dropping lug nuts going back on. Sometimes when you have a problem as a tire changer, it compounds itself because you're trying to make up for that.
All right, guys, shake it off, shake it off. You guys are the best pit crew down there. That's an odd mistake. It's a rare mistake. Don't sweat it. We got another one.
Well, he is now in 9th position, so he's going to have his work cut out for him. As you can see, Dan Stillman, the crew chief right there, as they've got to figure out what they can do on that last pit stop.
This is going to hurt him more than Carl thinks. This is one of those racetracks that track position is extremely critical. We heard Rusty talking in the pre-race show about what are you thinking? What's the driver thinking before this race starts? And he's thinking, I hope I don't have a bad pit stop to put me behind and have to fight this. And this is going to be very hard for Carl to overcome.
It is going to be difficult, but I like Carl's attitude towards that. And we've said this a lot of times. He really is a professional, and he takes care of those guys. Just as he said, it doesn't happen often, and he knows that he makes mistakes on the racetrack too. They don't jump all over him, so I like that support of your crew.
Are you saying that there's another driver in this field that might not have been so gracious?
Well, there might be one or so out there.
Scott Speed getting the spot from Leffler. It's looking like the 2-tire stop is not really working out for this team, this 38 team.
Yeah, and talking to a lot of the guys down there before the qualifying this morning, they weren't really sure if that was going to work with this tire and everything this time because they didn't get enough laps on the tires yesterday. They only got 35 laps of practice, basically.
So now has Jason Leffler told every other crew chief on pit lane, forget about 2 tires?
I think so, yeah, because every one of them are watching this, and You know, you see a car going backwards on 2 tires, and not only that, these other drivers are driving by him. They know he's on 2 tires, so when the caution comes out, that driver's going to be calling for 4.
Yeah, and the other factor that could be there is how many laps are left. Somebody might still take a chance if you have a little better handling race car. That 2 tires never works good on a race car that's not handling very good, so it may work for some of the guys up front a little better.
Well, all this revolves around last year at lap 129 when we saw a variety of pit stops. We've still got a lot of racing to go, and the Braun Racing team, Jason Leffler, Vickers, Lamar, 32 starts, 7 top 5s. Leffler has had most of them.
ESPN delivers 2 nights of Major League Baseball action, 8 Eastern on Sunday Night Baseball, presented by Taco Bell. Alex Rodriguez and the New York Yankees take on David Wright and the Mets as part of the ALNL Showdown, presented by State Farm, interleague play. Then catch Monday Night Baseball at 7 Eastern when the Mets head to Milwaukee to take on Ryan Braun and the Brewers. Major League Baseball, ESPN and ESPN 360, Sunday and Monday. The NASCAR Nationwide Series at New Hampshire, presented by CC's Pizza. We talked about rain being in the forecast. That is looking across the track from turn 3 beyond turns 1 and 2. It's a little dark out there.
I think it's going to miss us, so Brad.
The wind is picking up just a little bit, so it could blow over us or it could blow into us. But I think we're going to get this thing in. Obviously, we will, because we're past halfway.
Yeah, now we're past the point that it's an official race. So if rain should come in and get closer to the racetrack, that really puts the pressure on these crew chiefs. Remember, these teams are all going to need to stop one more time before this race is done. Joey Logano leads. Brian Vickers is about 0.8 of a second behind him in the yellow car. There's third place Kyle Busch, who had something interesting to say just a minute ago.
Blow it up. Check the gauges. Make sure it's not your battery here. It is. It is what? The battery? If it's a battery, go ahead and switch to 2. All the way to 2, right? Don't go in between. So all the way to 2. All the way to 2. 2 only.
Explain, please, sir.
Well, he's just got a bad battery, evidently. They have 2 batteries in this car, so he can switch to the backup battery. And evidently, that's probably cleared his problem up. I'm watching his lap times, and they're pretty good right now. They're not too bad, so it appears to me the car's still running okay.
I have no idea what he was just talking about. I think he was playing a little bit with his crew chief there, saying I'm going to go to 2.5. I think he's just teasing, saying the car's not going to blow up, and the battery is actually coming back to life as he switched batteries.
Yeah, remember Tim Brewer showed us over in our Craftsman Tech Garage earlier, the switch to throw over to the backup battery, and maybe it has to do with the way theirs is labeled in their particular car.
I think he's just giving his crew chief a heart attack.
73 laps to go in this one. Another set of pit stops still to come. We'll see how the electrical problems play for Kyle Busch. Remember, Carl Edwards reported some of those earlier too. Carl back in 9th now after that bad pit stop just a bit ago. Let's recap the race thus far with our Verizon Wireless race rundown. Joey Logano with the 3rd straight pole in races he's competed in the Nationwide Series. He led the field of the green flag with Carl Edwards alongside. Logano led most of the opening 59 laps, but then...
Well, Carl just got on the bottom of the racetrack and drove right underneath Joey right there. But I'll tell you what, it took about 4 or 5 laps for that thing to slow up. It looked pretty fast right there, but you can tell that bottom's where you need to go.
Got to be on the bottom of that racetrack, and we see Carl Edwards come in for his last pit stop, and he loses 7 spots, and he has not made them up as of right now on the racetrack. He is still 9th, so we're going to see if Carl can march back to the front.
Came down pit road at lap 107 leading, came out in 8th position, and Edwards now is running in 9th spot, while Logano leads the race 1.8 seconds ahead of a new 2nd place runner. Kyle Busch has just moved around Brian Vickers to say second. Here he comes. Now, talk about a complete opposite MO, right? Kyle Busch has led the most laps in the last 8 races and has only won a couple of them. He hadn't led a lot of laps in this one. Jamie?
He has been fighting this car. Clint Boyer said it's loose and tight. He finally just said something is wrong. There's a bad vibration. I'm so tight in the middle, so he just brought it on down pit road. They took a look at it, made a slight adjustment. He's back out, guys.
All right, so that's going to drop Clint Boyer off of the lead lap. But again, all these leaders are going to have to make another pit stop in just a little bit. So Joey Logano could continue the streak of different winners at this racetrack were he able to get to the checkered flag first. But there are some guys trying to chase him down who have won here before. Guys in the booth, we'll see how it plays out.
And Clint Boyer will be the only guy right now that can go the rest of the distance, and he is one lap down right now as a result of that in 23rd position. You see Joey Logano out in front of Kyle Busch by a second and a half here at the Camping World RV Sales 200. Presented by Turtle Wax, and it is getting a little darker. Hopefully we're going to get all 200 laps in on this race. There's Kyle. You see the gap on what it looks like on your screen. And then Brian Vickers giving this 32 car a great ride today in third. Scott Speed, the top 4 cars, all Toyotas, and until Jason Leffler got passed by Kevin Harvick for 5th, it was a top 5 Toyota show.
Yeah, these Toyotas are awful strong here today. This racetrack now has got shade all the way around. It's going to change the way the way the track is for these cars and the way the cars are handling. We've had some bright sun on it, and the track temperature is going to drop a lot now with this cloud cover.
Yeah, probably hear some guys talk about their cars getting tight once again. If they've been working in that direction a little bit, then they might find the thing to go even tighter than what they have been. Scott Speed's doing a great job in this 99 car.
Well, let's get an update on our race leader, Shannon Spake.
Marty, the team has let Joey Logano know that Kyle Busch in that 18 car has moved into second. Now, this car starts off very loose for Joey Logano. The sweet spot for him is right about lap 10, lap 15. That's when the car starts to tighten up. It has not tightened up the way that it has in the past on this run. Dave Rogers, as you see on the right hand of your screen right there, he told me this morning that the team that can have the adjustments not go the furthest, the car that stays most stable during their run will be the car that runs. Right now, that car is looking good for Joey Logano. Vince?
Well, and the one thing that Joey Logano's teammate, Kyle Busch, is keeping an eye on and thinking he's going to be able to take advantage of is the fact that Logano is in traffic. The last time Logano came into this serious traffic, his crew chief, Jason Ratcliffe, told Kyle Busch, this is where Joey struggled last time in the deep traffic. Make up ground. Kyle Busch is within a second and a half, and he's coming strong. Jamie?
And behind him, Brian Vickers had a strong run today, guys, but this Braun Racing team was in the news earlier this week. They announced that they made some changes. They let Bernie Lamar go, and now they're looking to focus on the future and put together a strong team of drivers. Now, crew chief Trent Owens, you see him to the left there, said that all he knows is that these drivers that they bring on board have to have Sprint Cup experience. He said his phone has been ringing off the hook with guys trying to get a ride, so he said, no to you guys. If you're going to call me, you better have some experience. This team's looking to strengthen as they go. Marty?
All right, Jamie, thanks for the update on our top 3 guys. And we'll remind you again, it's Scott Speed in 4th, Kevin Harvick rounding out the top 5. We have a total of 18 cars on the lead lap. And Brendan Gaughan would get the lucky dog if we get another caution. But we've only had 2 so far, which would our annual stop in beautiful New Hampshire for the Nationwide Series, as it is just some picturesque countryside, the old New England touches, and a great place to spend some vacation time. But we're going to take a little trip through the old countryside here. As back at the track, we're seeing Kyle Busch, and we caught on the radio, this is not what you think it is. It's not Joey Logano losing track position. He's actually giving a position for Kyle to pick up the bonus points.
You at the 20, find out about 5.
We've been working on it for about 3 laps. They know we want it. Dave, if we get there, man, if you'll give it to us, we'll give it right back here if we can get 5 points. Handle it for a second here. Talk to him.
So he obviously did lead and picked up the 5 bonus points, and it is now the 9th straight race that he has now led, or is it 13? 13 straight races that he has now led, and he's only won 2 of those.
But he did get the 5 points. I don't necessarily agree with that. I don't think if he'd have come and asked me as the crew chief that I would have given him that, but they did that, and it does give him 5 points towards that championship. I just don't know if I would do it and try to compromise my effort of trying to win. But these guys do. Those 20 and 18 guys work very close together.
Yeah, I think one team. Yeah, they might have. I think the 20 thinks that he's still got him covered. Even though that Kyle has run him down here and got closer, I think the 20 still thinks he's better.
Well, to back that up, this is the latest in the season where he has taken the lead for the first time in a race when he has led.
It's a good race right here. Carl Edwards finally making up some spots. He's made up 1 spot on Bliss. Now he's trying to get another one from Keselowski after that terrible pit stop where he lost 7 spots.
And if he can clear him, he'll take over 7th, and he does. And Keselowski's going to lose another spot to Bliss. All right, let's check in again on the 18 situation. And Vince, you've got more from pit lane.
Some good teamwork between the crew chiefs, between you and Dave Rogers. He let your driver go by. Now can you get back by for real?
Right now the cars are pretty even. I don't know. We'll see. It seems like this cloud cover's definitely helped our car out. Z-Line Toyota's been pretty good all day, but I think we can get to him. But right now, I just don't know if we got enough to pass him.
Earlier, you were talking about conserving fuel, and then you decided to go against it, and Kyle picked up a couple of tenths. What changed your balance there between conserving and going for it?
Well, I told him after that last pit stop we needed to save a little gas. Once we got up here and figured it, we were actually better than we thought we were. So right now we're only maybe a lap and a half short. It's way too early to save a lap and a half.
Kyle Busch has never won here at New Hampshire, but he's threatening again.
Well, remember we talked about it in our pre-race on Countdown that 22 times we've raced here in the Nationwide Series, 22 different winners, and take a look at your top 4, and any one of those would make it 23.
But with 93 laps to go since their last pit stop, there's somebody that's going to be able to make that. If this thing goes green, somebody can do that. I talked to a couple of crew chiefs down there that could go 89, maybe 90 laps. And if you need to stretch it, some of these drivers know how to do that.
Yeah, maybe that's what Carl Edwards was doing. Maybe, you know, it's hard to believe that his car was that good and then he wasn't able to go back up. So maybe he was just saving some fuel in anticipation of a long green run and green flag pit stop, or being in the situation these other guys have to pit and he's not.
He does that better than any driver I've ever seen is saving fuel. He can stretch a tank further than anybody I've ever seen.
Well, everyone in the top 16 last stopped on lap 107, so they would have to go 93 laps to make it to the finish.
This is a place that you can do that quite a bit, though.
You see the number 2 there, Sean Case. He is going down for a lap. The youngster has done very well for himself as he is now 2 laps down in 23rd position. Finished 2nd in the 07 Camping World East points, and he had 4 wins, and he's given this car a good ride today. Take a look at that. He has been the biggest mover.
Yeah, not a bad run for him today. I know he'd love to be on the lead lap racing these guys for positions, but it's all about getting experience, and he's getting some good experience today, and the car's clean, no dents.
So as we move a little bit further back, we're going to try and check in. There is Mike Bliss. We're hearing Shannon Spake that they may try and go the distance.
Well, that is what the team has told Mike Bliss right now at this point. They're saying that they can go to the end of the race on fuel.
Oh, okay. Well, he stopped on lap 107. They're saying they can do 93 laps.
Well, if you have a race car that you've gotten pretty free, the car rolls good, you can roll out of the throttle early here, not use any brake, let the car roll, and then be easy getting back to the throttle. And you actually won't lose a lot of speed, but you can save a lot of fuel.
Sometimes you can actually pick up speed with that kind of strategy. I've seen that happen many times. You tell your driver, hey, we need to save some fuel, or you have a little problem with the brakes, and actually pick up time.
That car right in front of the number 1 is the 60 of Carl Edwards. And we've got a caution out on the track. We've got debris, and they're saying it's over in turn number 3. So our 3rd caution of the day comes out here at New Hampshire at lap number 156, and that may change up all of the strategy.
Yeah, that's a good thing we got all that in before that caution, because it doesn't mean a thing now. But it will be interesting to see if anybody goes with 2 tires now. There you see the debris. Looks like a spring rubber laying on the track.
Well, we are still under the record for fewest cautions. 4 times it's happened twice. We're on our 3rd right now, and yep, that's what a spring rubber looks like.
I'd take my chances if I was the 20 car. I'd take my chances with 4 tires. Get 4 right here and get out. I know there's going to be some strategy plays pulled here, but he's got a great race car and 4 tires. If I was going to lose today with that 20 car, it'd have to be with 4 tires on.
Yeah, but that's the team that last year took 2 tires and won the race.
Well, everybody loads up. We can tell you it will be Clint Boyer getting the Aaron's lucky dog, as he is the first car 1 lap down in 19th position. And we're waiting for everybody to come in, and this is where we were last year. Remember the 20 car with Tony Stewart at the wheel? The 20 car won that race last year. Joey Logano's at the wheel this year. They took 2 tires in that last stop, and it's time now for Toyo Tires triple pits. And Jamie, you're up again.
And Brian Vickers, they just decided to take 4 tires. They were talking about 2. He said he's just a little too loose, can't arc it in like that 18 and 20. 4 tires and a track track bar adjustment. Vince?
Kyle Busch in the 18 going to take on right sides only. The car has been really good on this last run and a good clean stop for the 18, Dave.
Scott Speed, bottom of your screen, tight in the middle off, 2 tires and fuel, he leaves. Shannon.
Dave, the good thing about having a teammate is you know what he's going to do before he comes down pit road. Dave Rogers, 2 tires for the 20 car.
So let's check on the race off pit road, and the top 2 stay the same. Scott Speed picked up 1, Brad Keselowski picks up 4, and Brian Vickers, ooh, is that going to hurt?
He's got 4 tires on the car, though. He loses 3 spots to get them.
Yep. Can he make them up? That was the big question that was answered last year. It seemed to be 2 tires then, but we saw Leffler take 2 tires earlier, and it didn't work for him. There's the race off pit road. That's how close it was. This is going to be good going home. Getting ready to go back to green flag racing. Mike Bliss stayed out. He has 51 more laps on his tires. There's 39 to go, and this could get real dicey as everybody else took 2, except for Brian Vickers, who took 4. So it's Bliss, Logano, Kyle Busch, Speed, Brad Keselowski. That's your top 5.
Logano's got a good run down the backstretch on Bliss.
Yeah, Kyle Busch, he's going to wait to see if that's going to work, though. He might want to follow Bliss and try to get by the 20 here, but looks like the 20 is going to clear him. So he's got back to the lead. Here comes Kyle Busch.
So Bliss became our 5th leader. We've now had a total of 10 lead changes, and here comes Kyle Busch into 2nd place, moving Bliss back to 3rd. The 2 car, Sean Case, is lap traffic. Then you've got the 99 of Scott Speed.
Scott Speed has had a really solid run to be his first run here at this racetrack, and it seems like every time he drives this 99 car, they just keep getting better and better.
Yeah. Well, he's got to get around Case because he wants to get up closer to Bliss and get around him to try and get into that battle for the top 3 spots before those 2 Toyotas running high. Speed does get around Case.
Yeah, and this will be another new feel for Scott Speed at this racetrack the first time, just putting on 2 tires for the first time. So he's probably feeling his car out a little bit there, but he doesn't want to lose contact with those 2 guys up front.
I have to admit, I'm actually surprised Bliss is still in 3rd after this many laps. I figured with 51 more laps on those tires, he was going backwards fast.
Yeah, but don't forget, these other guys just took on right sides. Now you got Kyle Busch looking inside. Joey Logano.
Pass for the lead. Could Kyle take it again? And this time it's not a gift. This is for real. We've got 36 laps to go. He's got the preferred low line, and can he clear him going down the backstretch? Not done yet.
Joey Logano's not going to give it up too easy here.
Joey, just 3 hours by car from his home in Middletown, Connecticut, has so many family and friends here. He wants to win this race. But Kyle does finally clear him coming out of 4.
Yeah, we know this is when Joey Logano has struggled a little bit on these restarts with lower air pressure, and even though it's just in the right side tires this time, it may be the same scenario. So we'll see if he's able to hang with the 18 car and be able to get back by Kyle Busch as we run some laps.
It's going to be hard because now these 2 guys have swapped positions. Kyle Busch could only get so close to Joey Logano when he was started losing that air on the front end and started pushing a little bit. Now the roles have reversed, so it might be hard for Joey Logano to get back into this lead. And here's Brian Vickers. He's really the only one of the leaders that took 4 tires. And with all these lap cars between him and the leaders, he'll need a caution before now and the end of the race to take advantage of that.
Yeah, we keep talking about this 22 race streak. The top 6 guys are all guys that have not won here at this racetrack in the Nationwide Series. So looks like our streak could be alive and well.
Vickers does pick up the spot, move him up to 6th. Meanwhile, there is the 16 of Biffle. Dropped him back to 8th. Eric Darnell trying to get back into this mix. And there comes Carl. Carl looking underneath the 38 right now of Leffler. That is for 10th position. So ever since that disastrous pit stop, Carl has been no factor.
It's been a huge, huge penalty for his team to have that bad pit stop. And when they had it right at a critical point in the race. And that's just going to be hard for him to make it up.
He's got a battle there with Stephen Wallace, and that is for position. They're duking it out for 11th on the racetrack.
It just doesn't seem like Carl's car is very good. Where his car was fast, he's not able to utilize the racetrack in those parts. They've had him in trying to make passes down the inside, and he just can't get into the throttle off the corner.
Yeah, when he had the lead, he had a lot of racetrack to work with, and trying to work this traffic, they're limiting him to that inside lane.
The 28 of Kenny Wallace is lap traffic. let's go back to the race lead, and there you see Kyle Busch and Joey Logano, and they are now about 1 second clear of Mike Bliss in third. Shannon, I think you've caught up with Mike's crew chief.
Crew chief Mark Reno was not surprised that he got passed on the restart, but how confident are you that you guys can make it to the end of this race on fuel?
Well, it's really hard to hear. I don't know, we were having a hard time. We run between 8th and 10th all day and just thought we'd gamble and take a shot at it. I don't know if it'll work or not, but hopefully we'll finish better than we were.
Now, right now, you were looking at the times on this scoring pylon. Are you surprised that he's holding on right now for third?
No, I think the better farther up you get, the cleaner air you got. We were having trouble passing cars, so we figured we'd give it a try and see what happens.
All right, Mike Bliss right now still in third, Marty.
All right, Shannon, thanks for the update. And Mark makes a good point. They weren't getting any farther from them, about 9th, 8th place. So why not roll the dice?
It's exactly opposite of what we were talking about with Carl Edwards. When he had track position, he was fast and looked good. And, you know, now he's back in the traffic and he can't make any ground either. So, you know, now here the one car's up in cleaner air. He's able to maintain.
And apparently pretty sure that those caution laps are all that they needed to go 93 laps on this tank of fuel.
If they were pretty confident that they could make it before and having that caution, they certainly have enough insurance now to make it.
All right, while all this continues around Mike Bliss, Kyle Busch and Joey Logano have opened up a 2-second lead over Bliss. So right now it looks like it could be a battle between the teammates, and we have 29 laps to go here at New Hampshire. Don't leave this one. It's not over yet.
ESPN's coverage of the NASCAR Nationwide Series on ABC. Brought to you by Cici's Pizza, home of the endless pizza, pasta, salad, and dessert buffet. Toyo Tires. Toyo Tires are driven to perform. And Lultramin Ultra, the one-week killer cure for athlete's foot.
Trying to come up with a quick cheers thought there when Kyle Busch drives into victory lane. He's such a familiar face there. Norm's going to be sitting there, right? It was an effort anyway.
Great effort.
23 laps to go here in New Hampshire today. Kyle Busch is out in front. He took the lead from Joey Logano about 12 laps to go. And now that has pushed him over a pretty big number for laps led this season.
Oh, yeah, 1,500 laps led, just a ton.
It's amazing.
It's not a surprise to see this guy out front. I mean, we talked earlier how good a driver he is. I mean, he's got that car handled good. They've worked on it all day long. Talking again, he lost that second practice session. They worked hard, and now they got that car flying. But it looks like the 18 car and his teammate, Joey Logano, almost identical times right now.
Yeah, see, I think Joey's playing a little bit of possum here. I think he's just sitting right back behind Kyle riding. And as we get closer to the end here, I think that 20 car is the best car on the racetrack. I think he'll drive around Kyle Busch once we get to the end of this thing.
All right, mark it down. Brad's just made his prediction. Other guy I want to talk about is Carl Edwards, the other guy doing the double championship bid this year. He trails Kyle Busch by 127 points starting today. Remember, Carl had the bad pit stop back at lap 107. He came in leading. He went out 8th. And never really made any ground up in that long green flag stretch up to the next pit stop at 158. We were kind of surprised at their strategy.
Yeah, Rusty asked me, he said, what would you do if you're coming down right now? We were watching them roll down. I said, I'd take 2 tires. Of course, it's easy to sit back and armchair quarterback, but I at least would have tried to gain more track position. It's so hard to pass here. You got to make up spots in the pits, and they didn't do that.
Yeah, I mean, everybody always, questions their call all the time. Yeah. 2 tires, 4 tires. It's a hard call, but, looking back at it right now, 2 tires was probably the right thing to do.
That's kind of the fun of being a sports fan, isn't it?
That's right, man.
We can sit back on the couch and question what all you people out there in competition do. That's right. So not been a good day on pit road for the Edwards team. They lost the 3 positions on the other stop because they took 4 tires, and some other people that were behind them in the race took 2. And, of course, the big moment of the race for him, that disastrous pit stop at lap 107 that dropped him from 1st to 8th. So back to the action here as we try to settle out some spots in the final laps, and watching Scott Speed and Brian Vickers go at it for 5th. Hey, Petrie, you're a championship crew chief. What were you thinking about that call?
I think if I'd have been Carl, I'd have stayed out. I wouldn't have got any tires. He was in front of Mike Bliss whenever the caution came out. Bliss is sitting in 3rd right now. So, yeah, I don't think 4 tires was the right call on the 60 car, but that's easy to say now. As we watch this race kind of wind down, you see these 2 cars racing for position. That 32 car has 4 tires, and Scott Speed's only got 2. I can see Vickers making up these spots, but does he have enough time to really take advantage of it?
Yeah, I don't really think that he does, and been watching those two guys up front and watching the times there as Brad made his bold prediction that Joey Logano was sitting there and setting Kyle Busch up again. Those two cars have been pretty equal. Logano beating him maybe a couple of hundredths, maybe a tenth every other lap.
Yeah, I still think that 4 tires would have been a better call for the 20 because he has that #1 pit stall down there, and he wouldn't have lost near as much ground getting 4 tires.
Yeah.
And his car was so good when they had 4 tires on it. This was about the only kind of situation that he was really going to get beat on, and he still might get back by this 18 car, but he's got his work cut out for him. He got a blown engine or something here with the 24.
Well, that's Eric McClure, and he is definitely lost it.
It should be the rear end.
Can't tell if it's the motor or the rear end, but
looks like engine.
He's had some scary moments at this racetrack, and there is no caution on the racetrack. This is 3rd place right now. Brad Keselowski, remember, he's got 4 top 3s in a row. If he gets around Bliss, he can make it 5.
I'm surprised that didn't bring out a caution. That was a lot of smoke that came out of that car.
Yeah, right in the groove.
It's clean so far. Nobody's having any problems, it doesn't look like. So staying green.
Keselowski's got a nose under Mike Bliss. Not going to be able to make it hold off of turn 2 as they go down the backstretch.
Vince, you've got more on Brad?
Well, Brad Keselowski said just a few laps ago, this is the best my car has been all day long. They've been working on it all day to try to get it comfortable for him, and they finally seem to have hit the sweet spot. He's had a 1st place, a 2nd place, and 2/3 in his last 4 races, and he's knocking on the door again here today in the 88.
And while you finished up, we saw Brian Vickers finally get around and clear the 99 of Scott Speed, so move Vickers up to 5th. It is still Kyle Busch by just about a half a second over Joey Logano. And then, you saw that 33 car. There's the battle between the leaders. You know, we talked about the numbers and how bizarre some of these stats are. The fact we've had 22 different winners, and the leader on lap 3, which was Joey Logano, has never won this race in 22 times. Well, how about this one? The driver who's led the most laps has failed to win 13 times, including 4 of the last 6. Guess who led the most laps? Joey Logano.
So the numbers are not lining up for the 20 team today.
No, they just aren't. And don't ask us to try and figure it out, folks. It's just stuff that keeps reoccurring, and you would think that streak would be broken over the period of 23 years, both of them.
Yeah, and as this 20 car got a little bit closer to the back bumper of Kyle Busch, Kyle just kind of checked on out. He's really negotiating the traffic well, and I think that's where he's able to pull away and put a little distance between himself and Joey Logano.
Oh, Andy, I think you're right. I think they may be second-guessing themselves on that 2-tire, 4-tire on the 20 car.
Well, it's too late to second-guess it for now. They just got to race hard as they can, but it looks like this track position is just really hurting the 20. I mean, he had that lead, and his car was really good. Losing that track position to Kyle is really hurting them. I don't think they're going to be able to get their car back up front if they don't have a caution or something to change this race.
Well, we can tell you the 24 car is behind the wall, and so that means we now have 32 cars out of the 43 still out on the track.
Yeah, and I think we might have seen Kyle Busch kind of turn the tide here and the tables on these guys today. He's been leading a lot of these races. Everybody's seeing what he's had. They've been able to work on their cars and then make a move and pass him at the end. That's exactly what Kyle Busch has done today as we watch this battle continue for 3rd.
Well, I'll tell you what, it is so fascinating to watch Mike Bliss hold on to 3rd position. Remember, he last pitted on lap number 107. We're working lap number 190.
Yeah, just like Mark Reno, his crew chief, said that they were stuck back in 8th spot. They weren't able to make any ground. They're sitting here in 3rd. They might lose this spot if it goes all the way to the end to this 88, but I don't believe he's going to lose any more than that. Well, unless 88 wrecks him. Yeah. He might lose a lot of spots.
Yeah. Well, and Brad sort of gives him a little breathing space there. But then he says, okay, enough's enough. Here I come again.
Yeah, you can see Brad getting down on that apron trying to work that part and get his car turned so he can get under Mike Bliss, but Mike's not giving him any extra room.
It's just 10 laps to go, and it's conceivable that he could hold him off for 10 laps.
The dark clouds get darker, but the rain is held off, and with, we have just 10 laps remaining as we watch the battle on the left for the position with Bliss in 3rd. There's the battle for the race lead, and all of a sudden, Joey Logano is coming back on Kyle Busch.
And he's found something, but they've got some lap traffic up ahead that's going to figure into this.
All right.
Man, you got him. Go get it.
And he made up a lot of ground in a short amount of time there.
Who has the advantage here? The experience of Kyle Busch or the exuberance and youth of Joe?
Definitely Kyle Busch.
Car,
I think Kyle Busch has the lead. That's the position I want to be in, but he's going to have to fight harder to keep it.
Yeah, but I like, man, Logano, just like he found another gear there all of a sudden.
Well, you see the 87 at Joe Nemechek, a former winner here, one of the 22 former winners over the course of time at New Hampshire in the Nationwide Series. And the 18 gets around, the 23 of Ken Butler as well. And here comes Joey right behind. So lap traffic does not slow either one up. Does give Kyle a little bit of breathing room.
Okay, now we're going to see really what they have, because this traffic figured in, I think, on this. They closed in on the 20 car, closed in on the 18. Now they have clear track for at least a straightaway.
It is 0.3 of a second, and meanwhile the battle for third is still going on. I don't know if Bliss can hold on. No, it doesn't look like it this time. I think maybe, yes, finally the 88 clears, and here comes Brian Vickers.
I think Keselowski just took it right there.
Yeah,
he said,
right
I'm
there.
tired of this. I'm taking this spot right now.
Yeah. He saw that as his best chance. He might not get another good shot like that, so he just drove it down in the corner, probably further than he wanted to, but it worked.
And I'm sure Vickers was going to school on that one. We might see the same move again. See if he pulls out on him here. Doesn't look like it. Stays right behind him. Now trying to get the low line, coming through 3 and out of 4, and nope, not going to have any success.
It just gets so difficult when you get this number of laps on and the guy's running the line and not giving you a lot of room on the banking when you have to try to go down and make that turn and get underneath and get the power down too.
But I got to tell you, I am impressed with Mike Bliss. Remember, Vickers has 4 fresher tires than 51 laps older on the #1 car.
Yeah, I mean, I said up here that I didn't think Mike Bliss would hold in the top 10 by making that move, but they've obviously proved me wrong, and he's done a terrific job.
Take a look at the top 2. There they are. They've sort of checked out on everybody else. They got a 5.5 second lead back to 3rd place, Brad Keselowski.
And now it's just the 2 of them going at it. You see just how close that 20 car is able to get, but not any closer.
This time by, it'll be 3 laps remaining. And it looks like we're guaranteed of having our 23rd different winner in the Nationwide Series here at New Hampshire.
That's
Joey.
an amazing streak that they put together here. It's just hard to imagine. We talk about how difficult this racetrack is, but you'd think somewhere along the way somebody would have lucked into a second win.
Does this one sort of surprise you? These guys have finished 1, 2,
this year.
4. Yeah, but they finished 1, 2, 4 times, but Joey's won all 4 of them.
Well, that's probably maybe the surprising part, but Joey's a tremendous talent. It looks like today, though, it's going to be Kyle Busch. 2 laps to go, and he's got the advantage.
He kind of turned the tables on him here with what happened at Kentucky. I know he's looking back at that, and Joey was able to pass him, so Kyle was able to kind of turn the tables today and put a move on Joey and get the lead. And
well, he didn't
looks like he'll hold him off.
Didn't lead the most laps, but it looks like he's going to lead the most important one.
I think that's more important to him, as we've seen.
Yeah, we saw Joey Logano give the 18 car a lap lead there to get 5 points. You think he'll give it back to him here?
not on this next time by. All right, 1 lap remaining here at the mile at New Hampshire International Speedway, and it is Kyle Busch, Joey Logano, and they have checked out by 6.8 seconds over Brad Keselowski in 3rd. So it's going to be 2 Toyotas coming home 1 and 2 as they come through turns 3 and 4 for the final time here at New Hampshire. So as he comes out of turn number 4.
Boys. Good job.
Good job to the crew and a good job for the driver. Oh,
spins.
And Vickers hits the wall, contact with the 99 of Scott Speed, and it's going to hurt Vickers more than it will Speed.
You see these guys still trying to race back to the line.
Yeah, he was on the inside of Mike Bliss trying to take that spot away.
There you see that Speed drops all the way down to about 8th position, yes. So some excitement on the last lap, a little further back in the field. For Kyle, his 5th win here in 2009, the 26th in his Nationwide Series career. Vickers was running 5th at the time, and here we go. Vickers is not too happy with Scott Speed. Now, these are Sprint Cup teammates.
Calm down. NASCAR's talking here.
You can't tell it right now.
No.
And I'm not sure this is over yet.
I don't think so.
No, he wants a little more of them.
Yeah, maybe a little more.
And then he brake checked him, so that's going to be good.
No, I'm never a fan of this. I don't like seeing guys tear race cars up after the race.
Meanwhile, the celebration going on down at the finish line with the 18 of Kyle Busch surrounded by smoke.
Wow, that's a great burnout. He's getting good at these things.
Well, you'd think after this many wins, he'd be pretty good at it.
Vince.
Jason Ratcliffe, the crew chief for Kyle Busch. You guys seem to be very patient today as Kyle came up through the field. Was that your strategy from the beginning?
Well, we just paced ourselves. You know, we learned a lot over the last couple of weeks, and we're trying to, you know, just work on our communication to make sure that we're where we need to be at the end of the race, you know. And I think we worked on that today. And like I said to somebody earlier, sometimes it's easier to play catch-up than it is to just go up front and lead a bunch of laps. And, man, we worked on this thing all day. The guys did a great job on their pit stops, and Kyle drove a great race, and we were there when it counted. The Z-Line Toyota was good all day. This team's awesome. And, man, I just gotta thank God for the opportunities and for holding off the rain today. So it was an awesome day for us.
Jason Ratcliffe and the 18 winners today with Kyle Busch.
And that's his 9th win with Jason Ratcliffe as his crew chief. This now won on 16 different tracks here in the Nationwide Series. And of course, we'll get a chance to talk to him, and we'll check in on the battle between the Sprint Cup teammates. So far, no punches have been thrown yet. Stay with us. Well, looking down on victory lane here at the Camping World RV Sales 200 presented by Turtle Wax. Let's talk to our winner, Vince Welch.
Kyle Busch winning for the 5th time this season. The second place finishes of the last couple of weeks have been equally frustrating for you, I think, as much as the victories have been satisfying. How good does it feel to be in victory lane in New Hampshire for the first time?
It feels pretty awesome. You know, this place is real tough on me for some reason. It kind of eludes me, but really got to thank Z-Line Designs, Jim Sexton, and Monica. You know, this was awesome. A great effort by the whole team, Jason, myself. And to beat Joey, you know, he's got a lot of laps around here, so that's pretty special. That kid's very talented. So, you know, I want to thank Staples for jumping on board with us, NOS Energy Drink, Toyota, Marquis Jets, Gillette, DirecTV, and of course thank all the great fans that were out here for the NASCAR race today.
You came through the field methodically, using a lot of patience. What did you see from Joey's car that knew you were going to have an opportunity to slide under him for the winning pass?
I didn't think I really had an opportunity. You know, we just kept adjusting on our car all day. Normally when we're out front, we don't adjust on it, you know. So today we didn't have the winning car, we made the winning car, you know, and that's just what seems to be the different thing about, you know, about our cars sometimes. Sometimes we're out front, we're content with what we've got, and we end up getting beaten in the end and get the, you know, the show stolen from us. So can't even speak right now. But this is great. You know, Ratcliffe and myself, we talked this past week about what we need to do in order to get better, in order to take this team to victory lane instead of finishing second week in and week out. And this is a good step in the right direction. So really proud of Jason and Joel and all these guys here.
It was a winning combination for Kyle Busch and his crew chief, Jason Ratcliffe. A 162-point lead now for Kyle Busch in the championship chase. That's the largest lead of the season. Marty?
All right, thanks, Vince. His 10th NASCAR win in 09, 3 in Cup, 5 here in the Nationwide Series, and 2 in the Camping World Truck Series. Here's our ticket to race. Cup upcoming dates, of course, next week in Daytona, then on to Chicagoland and Gateway, and then in ORP. Stay with us. We're coming right back. It is the most prestigious championship in the game. Defending champ Padraig Harrington, Tiger Woods, and the world's best return to the birthplace of golf. It's the Open Championship on ABC, Saturday, July 18th at 9 a.m. Eastern. Final round coverage Sunday, July 19th at 8 a.m. Eastern. For more, just log on to ESPN.com. Well, if you saw on the last lap between Sprint Cup teammates, we had a little incident. Let's take you back and show you one more time.
Yeah, Brian Vickers still fighting hard to try to get by Bliss. Has to check up, and he gets hit from behind by his Cup teammate, Scott Speed.
And then at the end result, of course, we saw a little bit of contact from the 32 on the cool down lap, and it certainly didn't look like the 32 was very cool. And then there was some words afterwards right here as Vickers came up. Well, and nothing happened much more than that, but let's catch up with him. Jamie is caught up with Scott Speed.
Well, Scott Speed had an impressive top 5 run all day long until the end. The one guy you get into is your teammate on the Cup side. What happened, Scott?
Well, we all went in the last corner, like the 3 of us all together. We're all on different tires. The one had no tires. We had 2 tires. Brian had 4. So we all went in the last corner, and they just checked up. We couldn't stop in time and got in the back of Brian, and we both went up the track. So it was unfortunate for both of us. But at least we had a good run all day. I mean, Michael Waltrip did, the car was awesome all day, obviously. And, yeah, we'll keep it from here.
What did Brian say to you? We saw him come up. You guys had a little talk.
Well, Brian's a little bit heated, for sure. But luckily, we're teammates, so we'll get to talk it out. Hopefully, we'll do it in counseling.
All right. Well, Scott Speed walks away with a smile on his face. 8th place on the day.
And there you see some of the damage left on the 32 car from Scott Speed and the contact, and Brian Vickers in the 32. And you saw the exchange of words that they had right after the race was over.
Yeah, you can understand the frustration from Vickers, but I also saw both sides of that.
Well, Brian Vickers, though, was trying to stay off the one car and not get into Mike Bliss. And now this is what happened after the checkered flag.
Yeah, this is the part I don't like. I don't like seeing guys tear up race cars when the race is over. Already got enough damage. Let's don't tear them up any worse. We'll get out here and talk about it. Do, like you said, a little counseling after the race, but don't tear the cars up.
Yeah, the team owner is the one who suffers here because he's got to write the check.
Yeah, he didn't do anything.
And there was the hardest hit when he got brake checked by Scott and basically said, "I'm tired of you pushing me." And Jamie has caught up with Brian Vickers.
And Brian Vickers, what an eventful day today. Ran up there, almost charged in there for the lead for a while. But in the last lap, you and your teammate get together. What happened from your perspective?
He ran into the back of us. He said we slowed down for the turn. I mean, I don't know how else to get through a turn other than slow down. I mean, I don't know what his problem is. I don't know if he's frustrated because he runs so bad in the Cup Series, but he just flat ran into us and wrecked us. I've never had a teammate do that to me before.
What'd you say to him when you guys did get together post-race?
I asked him what he was thinking. I was like, dude, we're racing for 5th, and you're going to wreck me? I mean, seriously? And the only thing he could say was, oh, I couldn't slow down. You guys stopped in front of me. You guys slowed down in front of me. No kidding. It's a turn. I've got to stop and turn left. So not much of an excuse.
Frustrating day for Brian Vickers. Brings it home 12th.
So that should be an interesting conversation when they get back to the team transporter as the celebration continues down in victory lane. And as we get a moment to catch up with second place in the points championship, Carl Edwards did manage to move up a couple of spots because of that last lap incident to 6th. Dave Burns.
Yeah, it was a great pickup right there at the end for Carl as he signs a couple of autographs for fans here. But I know you wish for a lot more. You led 51 laps today. Talk about how the car and the pit stops got away from you.
This ortho fusion was great. You know, we had all the Scott's folks down here and the ortho folks, and after we ran so well last week in Milwaukee, we really felt like we had a great car and led a bunch. We just had a little bit of trouble on the pit stop. My guys are really good on pit road. They don't have much trouble there, so you know, hopefully this is just a rarity and we can go on and keep running like we are. You know, the result's not good, but the idea or the fact that we ran so well, that's great, man.
Something we debated, would you have preferred on that last stop to have taken 2 tires or none versus 4? I know Dan was working on your race car, but would you prefer track position?
I thought about that when I was watching Greg and Mike Bliss and those guys, and 2 tires might have been that might have been the deal, but you know, we thought we had an adjustment where we could put 4 good years on and go fast at the beginning, but boy, I was sawing in there for the first few laps, and it just cost me some positions. But still a great race, and it's fun to go out there and lead and have cars that are this good, and we'll get them.
And that'll be in the notebook for next year, guys.
Well, let's take a look at the points championship, and we'll point out that the margin, as you heard Vince Welch talk about, 162 between Kyle and Carl, and Brad with another 3rd place finish. is third in the points. And guys, 9th straight race. The driver leading a halfway to New Hampshire has not won. All these streaks keep going. I don't understand it. I really don't.
It's hard to explain sometimes, but it worked out for Kyle Busch today. Having a lot of fun down there in Victory Lane. This is a big change from the last few weeks.
Yeah, a lot of streaks, and it kept going and things, and a lot of things that we see. And this is something else that we see a lot of. Him in Victory Lane and finishing up front. They're going to have a hard time beating Kyle Busch for this championship. Even though Carl's running well, he made a great comeback to get back to 6th there and not lose any more points than he did.
Yeah, and as we mentioned, that was courtesy of the two guys getting together late in the race, and they got dropped back. Vickers was running 5th and ends up all the way back to 12th, and of course Scott Speed also moved back behind Carl. Shannon Spake is caught up with the hometown favorite here, Joey Logano.
Down here with second place finisher Joey Logano, 108 laps led today. What happened at the end of the run and between you and the 18 and with your car in particular?
He beat me pretty much. You know, they were faster at the end at the right point. You know, I think every restart I was just too loose, and you know, that's when I gave up a spot, and then I was able to get it on the longer run, and did it again. Except Kyle was just better throughout the whole run, and we can hang there with him. But if we had the clean air, I might have had something for him. But they're better than us, and that's why they got the trophy. You know, it was I got my buddy Matt over here, and I was trying to get the win for him, but. Yeah, I tried hard, but yeah, I mean it's tough. I mean, I guess I know how Kyle feels lately, leading all the laps and not winning. So, but it's still a good run for the GameStop team here. It's 20 teams still going for the owners' championship, so it still keeps them up there.
Now let's look forward to tomorrow. I know that not a lot translates, nothing translates from this car to the Cup car, but leading 108 laps, as far as confidence is concerned, how much of that will translate till tomorrow?
Oh, a lot of that will. I mean, over here is like my big confidence booster. You know, I feel like I'm at home over here. I know what I want, know what to feel, know what I need to do to win over here. So that's a big confidence booster when you go back and forth between Sprint Cup and Nationwide.
All right, good luck to you tomorrow. Second place finish for Joey Logano.
All right, Shannon, thanks. And from here for the NASCAR Nationwide Series, it's on to Daytona Beach, Florida. Next Friday night, the Subway Jalapeno 250, 7:30 Eastern Time on ESPN.
Double file restarts, baby, for the Nationwide Series next weekend.
And then next Sunday at 1 Eastern here on ABC, the IndyCar Series goes racing on the Watkins Glen Road course.
Oh, that's going to be real exciting. Those cars just flat fly around Watkins Glen. Be a good one to watch.
And so we get set to wrap it up here in New Hampshire today. Both of you predicted at the start of the day the streak would continue. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
One of you predicted Joey Logano would catch Kyle Busch at the end.
That close.
Condolences.
That close. That close. He finished second. Hey, but he had a great run today, as well as Mike Bliss. He gets a good, strong finish in 4th. And how about Eric Darnell? I mean, he got the front of his car knocked off, getting caught up in the Vickers and speed mess. But he had a good, solid day today. Finishes in the top 10.
He did a really good job. And I'll tell you, another guy did a really good job is a guy that I really busted on in the Countdown Series, and that was Kyle Busch.
Yeah,
I thought Kyle did a great job in his interview. He thanked the fans. He thanked everybody. Yeah. And, boy, this guy is totally different when he wins. When he finishes second, it's like somebody flips a switch, and it's a different Kyle. But good job out of him in that Victory Lane interview. Yeah.
The MO different for Kyle today. In the recent past, he's led the most laps and not won the race. Today, Joey Logano led the most laps, but Kyle Busch went into Victory Lane. So next week, it's the NASCAR Nationwide Series, Subway Jalapeno 250 at Daytona, 7:30 Eastern on Friday on ESPN. And don't forget to watch the Superstars, all new this Tuesday on ABC at 8 Eastern, 7 Central. Let's look ahead quickly to that Daytona race next Friday night.
Oh, I keep thinking about those double file restarts. That's just going to be unbelievable. Those guys are going to be so bunched up going into turn 1 and those restarts and down that back straightaway. Daytona's always tight, but it's going to be tighter.
It's going to be interesting. And Carl Edwards, I still believe, is kicking himself a little bit for not taking those 2 tires or taking no tires today. I think he'll be a threat once again when we get to Daytona.
So again, the point difference between Kyle Busch and Carl Edwards, 162 as the season gets ready to make the turn, if you will, at the halfway point. And we'll go on to Daytona Beach, Florida next Friday night for 250 miles of racing at the world's fastest speedway. The hot, humid weather conditions always a factor as well at Daytona. Really brings the handling of the cars into play for that one. So Kyle Busch today took the green flag a little farther back than we normally see him in 9th spot. Didn't get to the front until lap 147 of this race. That was only 1 lap when he and his teammate Logano traded positions on the track for those bonus points, NASCAR awards for guys that lead the race. Then Kyle took the lead for real with 36 laps to go. And although Logano got close, Kyle Busch managed to hang on. He is celebrating in victory lane. Thanks for watching ESPN on ABC.
This has been a special presentation of ESPN on ABC.